The movie opens with the first king of Aurea launching an unsuccessful assault on a dragon in his kingdom. The king's forces are annihilated, leaving him at the mercy of the dragon. They trail the creature into a cave where they encounter a sight that leaves them stunned. In a dramatic turn of events, a dragon swoops in, annihilating most of the knights with a fiery breath and dispatching the rest with her tail. The king, resigned to his fate, kneels in anticipation of his doom. We then fast forward several centuries to a northern land where Floria and Elodie, daughters of a local lord, were gathering wood. They were striving to aid their people who were battling the harsh winter and starvation. As more people depart daily, the existence of their town hangs in the balance. In an unexpected turn of events, sisters Elodie and her family receive a visit from a nun who approves Elodie for an arranged marriage with a prince from the royal family of Aurea. Despite initial resistance, Elodie agrees to the proposal, realizing the financial benefits for their town. The family then embarks on a journey to Aurea. Upon nearing Aurea, they encounter a dense fog and frightening silhouettes that turn out to be dragon statues. They are taken aback by the prosperity of Aurea and the grandeur of the castle. After settling into their rooms, they're informed of a meeting with the royal family the next day. She notices a girl her age on a nearby balcony, and a group of people ascending a mountain in the dead of night, sparking her curiosity. On the following day, Elodie and her family are introduced to the royal family. Queen Isabel arranges for Elodie to spend time with Prince Henry prior to their wedding. Despite a somewhat awkward start, Elodie and Henry find common ground and enjoy a delightful conversation. Henry praises Elodie's artistic talent and explains the significance of the torches she observed the previous night, revealing that they're part of a ceremony to honor their ancestors. In the meantime, Lord Beeford concludes his negotiations with Isabel, appearing visibly distressed. Despite Lady Beeford's attempt to confront him, he dismisses her concerns. Lady Beeford's efforts to foster a relationship with Isabel are met with cold indifference. Isabel clarifies that the arrangement is purely transactional, aimed at fulfilling her need for a princess and Beeford's need for financial aid. She also reminds Lady Beeford of her humble origins, urging her to not overstep her boundaries. Isabel's mispronunciation of Elodie's name is pointed out by Lady Beeford, but Isabel shows no interest in correcting herself. In the evening, a concerned Lady Beeford attempts to discuss her suspicions about the wedding with Elodie, suggesting it could be called off. However, their conversation is cut short by Lord Beeford, who sends everyone to bed. The following morning, Elodie is assisted by maids in preparing for the ceremony, and she's presented with a stunning dress, equipped with a blunt dagger and a perfume diffuser. The wedding proceeds smoothly, with Elodie and Henry exchanging rings, sharing a kiss, and Elodie receiving her own crown. Post-ceremony, Elodie bids farewell to her family and joins Henry in a carriage. He informs her that they will participate in an ancient ceremony on the mountain, and ascending a rocky staircase, Elodie is taken aback by the sight of individuals donning eerie golden masks, and Isabel dressed as a nun. Isabel hands Elodie a coin, signifying her role in protecting the kingdom, and begins to share a story as they enter the venue. Upon their ancestors' arrival on the island, they encountered a dragon, the last of its kind. The dragon attacked the newly settled humans, leading the king to rally his soldiers against the beasts. However, the dragon defeated all but the king, who was forced to sacrifice his 3 daughters to coexist on the island. As Elodie listens to this tale, she becomes aware of the unnerving stares directed at her and the perilous bridge that they're crossing over a chasm. Isabel elaborates on the king's sacrifice, a tradition celebrated every generation, before cutting Elodie's and Henry's hand. Their blood is mixed and covered with a cloth, symbolizing Elodie's induction into the royal lineage. Believing the ritual to be over, Elodie tosses the coin into the chasm, and unexpectedly, Henry, while carrying her across the bridge, apologizes and throws her into the chasm. Elodie screams as she falls, hitting branches before landing in a mud puddle and losing consciousness. Elodie regains consciousness, bruised and battered, and calls out for help. She cries, awakening the dragon, concealed deep within the cave. Overwhelmed by despair and anger, she discards her Orient jewelry and attempts to escape, only to fall and injure herself again. She discovers unfamiliar jewelry, leading her to the chilling realization that the royals have been sacrificing girls to the dragon for generations. Drawn by a noise, she enters a cave, illuminated by a flaming bird. Despite her efforts to extinguish the fire with dirt, the bird succumbs to its injuries. A roar reverberates through the cave, followed by a swarm of flaming birds that fly overhead before falling lifeless around her. Using the light from the wooden birds, Elodie searches for an exit, but freezes at the sight of the approaching dragon. She takes refuge behind a stalagmite as the dragon speaks, asserting that each generation of royalty must pay a price, a fact it can discern from Elodie's blood. Observing her scar, Elodie understands that the ceremony was a ruse to deceive the dragon. Urged by the dragon to flee, she runs screaming into a tunnel, pursued by the dragon's fiery breath. Elodie narrowly escapes the encroaching flames in the tunnel, finding refuge in a safe spot where she discovers the charred remains of the girl that she had seen on the balcony. As the dragon resumes its pursuit, Elodie attempts to flee through a small opening, but her dress becomes entangled. With the flames closing in, Elodie manages to free herself from the crinoline and seeks shelter in a smaller cavern. Despite her efforts, a stray flame scorches her leg, eliciting a scream of pain. Once the danger has passed, Elodie recalls the blunt dagger she was given, and she sharpens it against a rock, uses it to cut a portion of her dress. Despite the excruciating pain in her leg, she perseveres, fashioning a band-aid from the torn fabric to dress her wound. Elodie uses the diffuser to capture a flame, creating a makeshift lantern to navigate the cavern. She discovers a narrow passing and begins to crawl through it, but her dress snags and she slides down, extinguishing the flame in the process. Undeterred, Elodie rises and leans on the wall for support as she walks toward a distant light. After a painful journey, she exits the tunnel, nearly falling off a cliff. Spotting the light across the chasm, she discards her wedding ring into the abyss and takes a running leap. The landing is slippery and she begins to slide, but her belt catches on a rock, slowing her descent. The belt breaks, but not before she manages to draw her dagger and lodge it onto the crevice to halt her fall. She then uses the dagger to climb up and find the light source as a group of luminescent slugs. After confirming the slugs are harmless, she fills her torn sleeve with them, creating a new lantern. She continues her journey and stumbles upon a small lake. However, upon attempting to drink the water, she immediately spits it out because of its unpleasant taste. The cave plants taint the water with an unpleasant taste. However, Elodie manages to collect drinkable water from the melting ice on the ceiling. Suddenly, the ice melts rapidly, revealing a red glow, and Elodie opens her eyes to see the dragon breaking through the ice with its fire. She flees as the dragon lands in the cavern, but escapes into a smaller tunnel out of the dragon's reach. In this refuge, Elodie discovers a message on the wall indicating safety from the dragon, signed with a V. She finds dresses belonging to numerous girls on a wall bearing their names, including Victoria, denoted by V. After mourning them, Elodie removes the band-aid from her injured leg and tries to sleep, clutching the lantern. Suddenly, she begins to see apparitions on the previous sacrifices, tormented by pain, fear, and betrayal. Victoria appears, adding her name to the wall, then turns to Elodie and declares that everything is a lie. Elodie awakens to find healing slugs on her leg wound, and after applying a slug to another injury, she discovers a map indicating a previous escapee. The map guides her to take the middle path at a three-way fork, leading to an exit marked by crystals and music. She modifies her dress for convenience, adds her name to the wall, and follows the map's instructions, ignoring the dragon's distant roars. She finds a crystal-covered wall under an exit, illuminated by sunlight, and a crown marked with a V, signifying Victoria's escape. Using the crown, she begins to climb the sharp crystals, and unseen by Elodie, the dragon watches as a crystal breaks, causing her to fall, but she manages to hold on to the crown. Elodie locates her father and his men, but remains hidden for safety. The dragon appears, seizing a knight and dropping him from a great height, resulting in his immediate death. As the guide seeks refuge, the dragon captures the second knight and interrogates Bayford. Despite his attempt to fight, Bayford is disarmed and dropped by the dragon. Bayford delivers an emotional apology, admitting his grave mistake, and instructs Elodie to stay hidden. This prompts the dragon to fatally wound him, and Elodie's cry alerts the dragon, but a noise from the guard diverts his attention. With the dragon distracted, Elodie bids her dying father farewell. She then uses the rope left behind by her father to begin her ascent out of the cavern. The dragon kills the guide and pursues Elodie, who narrowly escapes by climbing and riding her father's horse. She tricks the dragon by jumping off the horse and hiding under rocks, and the dragon, misdirected, incinerates the horse and breathes fire into the clouds, signaling a broken pact. In the castle, Isabel, noticing the storm, orders her knights to abduct Floria. Lady Bayford attempts to intervene but is stabbed, and after the fire subsides, Elodie emerges from hiding and encounters a wounded Lady Bayford. Upon learning of Floria's abduction, Elodie vows to rescue her, and meanwhile, Floria is brought to the bridge for the ritual. Despite Henry's objections to involving a child, Isabel proceeds using her own blood and throws Floria into the chasm. When Elodie reaches the bridge, she finds it deserted, with Floria unconscious and in the dragon's clutches. The dragon refrains from harming Floria, using her as bait to lure Elodie. In desperation, Elodie returns to the cavern, using her prior knowledge to navigate the path more quickly. After verifying the map to locate the dragon's lair, she arms herself with her father's sword and sets a trap involving some armor and a burning rope. As the rope burns out, the armor drops, creating a noise that draws the dragon out of its lair, and seizing the opportunity, Elodie sneaks into the lair and rouses Floria, who due to a leg injury can only move slowly. Upon discovering the trap, the dragon returns to the lair, prompting Floria to hide and Elodie to prepare for battle. Despite Elodie's attempts to reveal the queen's deception, the dragon retaliates with fire. Elodie redirects the attack with her sword, falling from the lair and sustaining burns. After landing on a lake, she receives another sword from Floria, and the dragon attacks, pinning Elodie down and wounding her with its claws. Elodie retaliates by stabbing the dragon's eye with a dagger, temporarily blinding it. She then stabs the dragon's chest and paw, but with little effort. Spotting a curved stalagmite, Elodie devises a plan. She provokes the dragon into breathing fire at her, but dodges at the last moment, causing the fire to reflect off the stalagmite and onto the dragon, finally defeating it. Elodie reveals to the dragon that it's been misled into killing innocent girls and not royal daughters, and rejecting the cycle of violence, she aids the dragon's recovery using luminescent slugs. Meanwhile, another deceptive wedding is underway in the castle, and Elodie interprets, urging the bride and locals to flee, and the dragon arrives, ending the royal lineage with a fiery onslaught. Amidst the chaos, Henry accepts his fate, and the castle falls, but Elodie emerges unscathed. Days later, Elodie, Floria, and the recuperated Lady Bayford prepare to depart with resources for their people, agreeing to jointly govern their land. During their journey, Elodie and the dragon share a moment of mutual respect. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch our next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you on the next one.